We're recording this so we can send it out to you afterwards. I'm really pleased to be talking to you today about how we can increase one of the biggest commercial challenges facing care homes and later living operators right now, which is how to increase occupancy consistently, really without spending any extra money on marketing and sales, and also how to increase the share of private paying clients, which is certainly what everybody is talking to me as well about at the moment. So yeah, we've got half an hour. It's going to be fast paced and thought provoking. I'll challenge some assumptions and highlight where occupancy is quietly leaking out and where we can shift our revenue mix and attract more of the right customers. So yeah, please note any questions as we go along, and we'll open for Q&As at the end. Brief word on where this thinking comes from. I work with care homes, later living operators, and hospitality-led companies, really sectors where trust and emotion and this need for outstanding customer experiences is really high. I was 20 years on the operator side in board level and sales and marketing director roles. And for the last 9 years, I've run my consultancy, helping a variety of all sorts of different operators increase their occupancy and revenue. And what we'll talk about today is what's working right now in communities, looking at best practices and shaping better experiences, better processes to convert and attract demand. So today we are looking at covering these 5 areas. So we will cover call handling excellence, how your first impressions can make or break a move in. Secondly, we'll look at, from more of a marketing lens, the quality lead generation topic and getting more of the right families into the door. So this is about, when we say right, and you can see in the chart there, we mean also typically more private paying and more permanent customers versus respite. Thirdly, we're going to look at fixing conversion leaks, so all the subtle points where interest drops off on the customer journey. Fourth, look at measuring what matters and data that we can track to act fast and optimize. And then fifth is about improving online trust, because digital perceptions drives decisions long before a visit even takes place. So each of these elements builds on the last, and altogether they've holistically helped to increase occupancy growth without additional spend. So that's what we're focusing on today, is quick wins, low cost. So yeah, let's look firstly into call handling excellence. So if you generate more inquiries through marketing, but the calls aren't handled well, then trust is lost and visits don't happen. And then if tours are strong, but follow-up is weak, conversion to move-in will quietly fall away. So we're going to start at this critical area. A big opportunity area for most operators I go to is about how do we elevate the quality of our calls. It's a truly foundational lever. And when it goes wrong, which is often, it's really damaging, and it's huge amounts of revenue being wasted both during working hours and out of working hours, which we will touch on, where we unfortunately can lose trust, lose relationships, and the customer journey is abandoned. So one of the biggest superpowers when we come to call handling is about empathy. It's often overlooked, but it's really the quickest occupancy booster you have. You know, families aren't looking for perfection when they're calling us. They just want to really feel seen and understood and valued. And your team, you know, could be absolutely feeling overwhelmed in all the busyness of their days. We know that. But here, the tone of the call and being curious and really trying to build rapport and empathize with what that family is going through, one of the most difficult calls of their life, is really critical. So teams can be, you know, trained to build their empathy skill and spot emotion, rather than just many of the calls I mystery shop, which are just highly transactional, clinical, and transactional, that just don't highlight the empathy with our customers. Because really, you've heard this quote, but people will never forget what you say. Will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And this really comes across in those calls. So I would ask yourselves on the call here, when a stressed daughter or son is calling for care homes or potential resident for later living, is that call being handled by your team really in the most warm and human way that doesn't feel rushed or clinical? It's such a foundational part to be getting right. And another superpower that I train a lot on, apart from just the tone and the empathy, is powerful discovery questions. So really having some great open questions, such as what prompted you to reach out today? What are the interests of the potential resident? This is really building a great picture of who is coming in and demonstrating care from that initial moment. Often people I talk to say, well, care starts when someone move in, doesn't they? But it absolutely doesn't. It starts from this initial call and starting to build up this person-centered focus about who the humans are that are moving in and what's important to them, what's the anxieties, the concerns. And that comes through great questions and giving the time to pause and ask more of these sort of discovery questions. And then this image represents just thousands being poured down the drain, which unfortunately is the case a lot in out of hours. So with out of hours, we mean after 5 o'clock, Monday to Friday, or weekends. This is an area where lost revenue is trickling down. We know that the cost of a missed call could be, well, £80,000 on average per year, lifetime value of hundreds of thousands. So to get this right, we need standards in our calls. So we need to think about, have we got other teams trained that could be taking a minimum number of contact details for us? And also, could we put them through some basic level of training to make sure they feel confident to have this interpersonal skills and building rapport, and getting that information down so that we don't lose these inquiries? So that's just my slide building there saying lost opportunities. So to fix that, which I work with a lot of people to do, we went too fast there. We provide lots of tools and training. So, for all of you on the call, I would be asking if you have certain tools in place that ensure we have a consistent approach. So do we have customer inquiry forms? Do we have inquiry call prompt sheets? These are really useful things to make sure everybody is consistently delivering a great level. Some people have what I would call sales process manuals or customer experience manuals that just sets out what is expected so everybody knows how to be great. So yeah, that's just a picture showing me in action. And then let's move on to a second real strategy for elevating occupancy. Now we're coming into consistently attracting the right families. So we know we don't need hundreds of leads. We're looking for enough of the right ones. So families move in when marketing creates this trust and emotion. So let's look into quality leads. So I often get asked how many leads a month is a best practice. And I would say between 20 to 25 quality leads a month is a great amount to be aiming for. And they come from a variety of multi-channels across online and offline. And to be doing that, you want to be very clear on who is your ideal target customer and where are they coming from, and opening up the right channels that are relevant to attract them. And we'll talk in a moment about the highest converting channels, because you want to be very efficient with your marketing to spend it on the channels that truly reach the people you need to be reaching with the right message and the right images to lure them in. And so what sources of inquiries work for you? Well, in my work going around tons of care homes and later living all the time, I want to talk about some of the highest converting channels and often some of the most ignored ones. So we'll start here with community networking. So professional referrals can be one of the highest referral channels. some would say 60%, in terms of converting for inquiries to move in. Yeah, often it's a neglected area because people can't think who is best placed in the organization to do it. But yeah, ideally, some of the images here show local churches, schools, GP practices, pharmacies, healthcare, schools. Um, you would be ideally going out twice a week to make relationships with these people so that they could refer you, which is an entirely free channel of marketing. A second really great channel for attracting the right prospects would be prospect-centered events. So I take a lot of thought into what are the right events for your specific community, events that are designed around your prospects. So I'm not talking here about resident events. I'm talking about, yeah, attracting the right new people. Done well, I've seen many places achieve 3 or 4 move-ins from the right events, from having, say, the right 60 or 80 come, and ultimately resulting in 3 or 4 move-ins. So this is all about a lot of strategic planning into, firstly, well, what is the right event that will attract um, the right prospects? And then what is the right message? What is the right imagery? And then the right targeting from a direct mail perspective to make sure it's landing in the right addresses to the right demographics you're wishing to attract. And then a lot of also strategic planning and systematic approach before the event, calling everyone to make sure that they're coming, doing a brilliant job on the day, and then a lot of follow-up afterwards. So it's a real coordination between sales, marketing, and operations. So then if we go into a third really great occupancy and lever, and one that certainly makes sure we don't leak this revenue, is about fixing customer journey leaks. So do you know where there are gaps in your customer journey? If you mapped out your entire prospect journey from the minute someone is searching for you, from that awareness point through to the interest, the phone call, the visit, the follow-up, and move in, where is the leaks happening? Do you know? So they happen all over the place. Like I say, there's many examples. Sometimes I go to look on someone's website, make a phone call, the phone call doesn't work. Just think, well, has anyone ever, why have we not picked up on that? So there's many places that customer journey leaks happen. For instance, on the phone call part we talked about in strategy 1, 70% of calls go unanswered. That's horrific. And in the follow-up stage, 90% don't get a follow-up. So there's so many parts of the customer journey that are leaking, and it's costing us just a huge amount of occupancy and revenue loss every day. So where is leaking in your bucket? I mean, this was just a fun image I put of myself. I like analogies, but yeah, I do a lot of mystery shopping all the time, and I do a traffic light score in terms of the pre-visit, the during visit, and the post-visit to say, well, how good is it out of 5? And where might it be leaking from a customer journey perspective? And all of this is totally fixable and in low cost, quick win ways. So I'll talk about an area that I really love is about brilliant tours. So increasing your tour to move in conversion ratio would be something to really aspire to. It'd be great to know what your ratio is at the moment. Is it 50%? Is it 30%? And yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of just substandard tours going on where it's more about real estate and the building. But really, the power of the best tours are all about the people, because people buy from people. And there's certainly lots of great techniques that can be learned to empower your teams to deliver great tours that have an abundance of storytelling, that really sell how a day in the life is happening and how it relates to the person moving in terms of their hobbies and their interests, to really make a powerful connection on this tour. It's really such a brilliant foundational area, but one that is often doesn't have the right training or tools to go with it. So it's just done pretty poorly. 15 minutes or 20 minutes, for example, just rushing you through a building in a very real estate way versus, my idea would be sort of like a 45-minute real connection and people-centered tour. And another area that I mentioned is often leaking is about thoughtful and timely follow-ups. So there's a huge amount of visits that don't have a follow-up, unfortunately. It's quite, shocking, really. And I would be asking us to think of really not just what is your follow-up, but what is the follow-up sequence in terms of mapping out all the different touch points. So the day after the visit, what happens? Is that a phone call? And then the third day afterwards, if they haven't responded still, what are we doing then? Are we sending just a typical generic email, or can we make it more personal? For instance, the lady on the left, she said on the tour she was really into dogs. So we sent a really cute dog picture on the front of a handwritten card that really worked. Maybe touch point 3 is a thoughtful gift that doesn't cost a lot of money. Someone was really into sunflowers and gardening, so this really brightened up their day, sending some sunflower seeds. So yeah, just being creative and thoughtful, and that will really convert a lot of residents, because I say many people unfortunately aren't doing that. So it's a great opportunity area. So then the fourth area that we're going to talk about, and yeah, I'm a real data geek, is about measuring what matters. So I've put some of the key metrics up here on the dashboard that I'm going to talk about, that we will hopefully all be monitoring and thinking, how are we currently performing and what are the benchmarks that we could be aspiring to. And if you want any more information on benchmarks, you could reach out to me, because as I said, I'm tracking a lot of these all the time for different operators. So I have like just a good average. So yeah, in terms of focusing on really critical KPIs that matter from a sales and marketing perspective, I would call out these 6. So firstly, the number of quality leads. So not quantity leads, but back to item 2 was quality leads are we generating? Then how good is our call quality? Different factors could make up what we mean by call quality. It could mean percentage of missed calls, could be percentage conversion from call to visit. So how good is the quality of calls? It could be done from a mystery shop in terms of how much great connection was happening on the call. And then similarly about the tour quality, how good was that? Then we could look at our reviews, and we've got many different review sources we could look at. Are we getting over 4.3 on a Google review? Are we getting over 9 on a carehome.co.uk review? Different review sites. And then occupancy, ideally we would be achieving ideally over 95% occupancy, but occupancy of the right mix as well. So looking at our private paying and really focusing on that and building that up, so we're attracting more of the right people if that's an area that we're focusing on, which is what I'm working with many people on. So then finally, on the 5th area, it's about improving online trust. So we know that online is hugely important area for everybody. It starts right at the beginning, people thinking, what have I got a picture of this company? Do I feel that I could trust them and move a loved one in with them, or myself? So if we look at some of the best ways for building trust, I'd like to share these 4 areas. So if we start on the top left there with video testimonials, these can be of your residents or your team members. Video is growing in importance every day, as we know, and just getting some of these ambassador testimonials are really, really powerful for people thinking, wow, they love it there, they love living there, or they love working there. It's priceless. Secondly, I would go to ChatGPT. As we know, AI is growing all the time, and it's really important to see how is your community coming up. So I live around Marlow. I was typing in best care home in Marlow and just seeing what ChatGPT is pulling in, which is coming from many different sources. So be curious to see, have you done that for your communities? What is it showing? And then more, how do you make sure you are elevated, which a lot of operators are working on. So achieving that by having much better content that can be pulled in, blogs and useful guides, your website, that's all feeding into what ChatGPT uses to rate you, as well as SEO. And then, reviews, Google reviews, lots of different sources are going in to these ChatGPTs and AIs, putting you up top. We go around, then we're onto social media and PR. So customers really looking at how you present yourselves online. There's lovely stories every day coming out on different sources, whether it's Facebook or on news channels about what is life like here. I just included some there, but just really joyful things showing all residents and team members doing fantastic things every day. Brings a lot of joys and makes people feel reassured. And then finally, another one I included was about reviews, because we know that people trust reviews and what others are saying. And there's some sources I've put on here, whether it's Google reviews or carehome.co.uk or open score ratings, to show the power of different review sites. We have another webinar coming up on the 25th. I always try to listen to the hot topics that people are wanting. This one is going to be about achieving exceptionally high, strong tour conversions.